Alright guys, let me get the monitor up here. Happy Sunday. We'll wait a few minutes here, give everybody a chance to join. And we'll make some gesso. We'll talk about some gesso and we'll make some gesso. So I wrote some notes down. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get another jar. Ah, there's the cat. Bossy. Rosalie! I guess I'll show up on your camera in a minute. I can't tell. Alright guys. Is it 2:30? I can't tell. It's gotta be close. Nope, not quite. Alright, so, no, I haven't even started yet. You haven't missed anything. Okay, let's get started. So what is gesso? And why should you use it? And where can you get it? And can you make your own? Yes, you can. So let's start off. What is gesso? It's just a surface prep, but you can use it to surface prep anything. You can use it to surface prep watercolor paper. You can use it to surface prep acrylics. I use it for surface. Well, actually, I use it for both. I use it for surface prepping acrylic underpaintings for my oil paintings, and then I also do it for, I use gesso for my oil paintings, even if I don't have an underpainting, which a lot of times I don't. Where can you get it? You can buy it at places like Hobby Lobby. You can buy it in a little jar, you can buy it in a big jar, you can buy student grade, or you can buy artist grade, which costs a lot more. So the student grade costs a lot, and then the artist grade costs a lot more than that. And what's the difference really is the amount of acrylic paint pigment that they put in there. So why should you use gesso? I mean, you buy canvas, it's already prepped, or it's already primed, or you might not. You might buy an unprimed canvas. I do a lot of my own canvas stretching. So today we're going to actually gesso. We're going to go through all three stages of canvas prep after we make the gesso. But the main two things are absorbency and appearance. When you buy a canvas that's primed, especially if it's in a... Hi, Patty, my sister-in-law. When you buy a canvas that is pre-primed, if you take water and just drip some water on it, or just spray it with a sprayer or mister, which you'll see me do later with a canvas, you'll notice that the water tends to beat up on it. Well, gesso will make that more absorbent, but gesso, the surface of gesso, you can do a lot with the surface of gesso. So, for instance, you can gesso a piece, and if you like a lot of tooth in your canvas, and if you don't know what that means, it means you like a kind of a roughness to your canvas. It lends itself, a lot of tooth in a canvas will lend itself to landscaping. Not so much portraits, because portraits you want everything to be nice and smooth. But you can also make gesso very smooth. It's all in the how you go about putting it on and prepping the gesso itself. So we'll talk about all of that. Gesso comes in virtually any color you want. It comes in white. It comes mostly in white. It comes in black. It comes in gray. It comes in clear. And then as you're going to see today, you can make any color you want. I've seen gessos in pink, like a real tropical pink or a tropical blue that people use in their skies. They're better than acrylic paints. Gesso is better than acrylic paint in that it creates a nice hard surface for you to work on, and it makes this canvas very, very stiff. So if the canvas is not stretched really tight, you can gesso will actually help the surface get better. And I'll show you today as we go down. We're going to go down to the studio in a little bit, and talk about. We're going to go through the 3 different stages, maybe sometimes 4 stages, but mostly 3 stages that I go through with gesso on prepping a canvas. So let's make some canvas. Let's make some gesso. Get a pencil so you can write down the formula. It's a really simple formula. And while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about these jars. These are 16-ounce jars that I just got recently on Amazon. I have used a lot of different containers, including the container that I went to the store and bought gesso back in the day, to put my gesso in. I've used paint cans like these to put gesso in, and this is the latest thing I'm using, and I like this a lot. So now you see it's got plastic around it, and the reason for that is it's just like a sandwich bag. Just after I use gesso, I can just lay a canvas bag over the top of that and screw the lid down, and it'll keep me from getting any paint buildup around the top of the gesso jar. This gesso jar, I made this jar 2 days ago, and as you can see, it's just about empty. But so I'm going to make some more gesso up in this today while we're working. So I'm going to start off with a clean jar though for you guys, and then we'll work our way back over to this other jar. I'm going to make a half a batch of that. So 16-ounce jar. You can make them in an 8-ounce jar. Make them any size you want as long as you scale up. So here is the formula. Got a pencil? Here we go. We'll put everything in this jar. Make sure you guys can see the jar. Move that around. Can you see the jar? I can see your comments, but it's okay. I can look over on the monitor and see it. I'm a genius. All right. So let me start the water. I'm going to need some hot water. So the tools that I use to make gesso, I need a container. I use these little cups. These are really good, nice for measuring. But you can use just a standard measuring cup if you have some. Don't use the ones in your wife's kitchen; she might kill you. You're gonna need something to stir with. When I first started making gesso, I used a fork to stir with. That's a lot of stirring. So now I use a little paint stirrer, which we will stick on my drill and use it in a little bit. You will need, so we got water. You're going to need some plaster of Paris, just like this. If you go to the store to buy it new, it's going to look just like this. I just bought this one yesterday. This will last you a long time. It'll probably cost you about $5. So water is pretty much not very much of a cost here. This plaster costs you like $6, and you're gonna need a can of paint. So what kind of paint should you use? All right, the water's warmed up. I use a couple different things, but this is the one I like the best. This is Rust-Oleum Painter's Ultra Cover. So make sure you buy acrylic. What other dumb things have I done? Because I bought this in oil. That won't work. I had to take it back. You want to buy this in acrylic, and you want to buy it in flat. So you don't want it to be semi-gloss, and you don't want it to be glossy. So buy it acrylic. This is white, and then if we get around to make another batch, we'll make it in black, just to show you how that works. All right, so let's get to it then. So we're going to start off for a 16-ounce container. For an 8-ounce container, you will want to just divide this in half. But for the 16-ounce jar, this is going to be a perfect match here. So we're going to start off with 2 of these little cups of water. So it's just 2 parts of water. 1, 2. That's it for the water. Then you're going to need some glue. As you can see, I'm serious about glue. I used up all my little bottles of glue, and that's like, it's cheaper if I just use a big bottle of glue. So these big bottles of glue are like $20. 1 of those. And then fill it up again. And let's make 2 of those. So that's 2 parts water, 2 parts glue. Now the good thing about these cups, for me, is that you can use them and you can throw them away. You can buy like 100 on Amazon for much of nothing. A couple bucks. Alright, so we'll put the glue away. We won't need it anymore. So, 2 parts water, 2 parts glue. Now we're going to, before we put anything else in there, we're going to stir this up. And if there's a secret at all to gesso, it's stirring. Hello, Jacqueline. All right, so we got 2 parts gesso, 2 parts water and 2 parts glue. We're just going to stir that up real good here. So the glue is going to act as a stiffener for this gesso as it dries, and it'll make your canvas very stiff. Hi, Dorothy. So 2 parts water, 2 parts glue. All right, the next part is the plaster. Let me get another cup, some plaster out of here. Get my big arm down in this plaster box. So I had to go buy some more yesterday. So you want 2 even cups of this plaster. Plaster will be providing the surface tension. It'll be the finish when you're done. That's what will be. Wash my hands off here real quick. All right. So we've added 2 parts water, 2 parts plaster. Hey, Gene. 2 parts water, 2 parts glue, and 2 parts plaster. Then we're going to stir this again. This time we're going to stir it really well. And let me tell you how you can tell if you haven't stirred it well enough. When you think you've got it stirred, just take and look at your little stirring device. And if you see any little tiny pellets of plaster, keep stirring. You want to keep stirring until you have a really smooth consistency. Somehow I got this on my hand. Sorry. Alright, hang on guys, let me turn this around. Use my other hand for a little bit. Alright, so we're going to continue to stir this. Alright. So we have 2 parts plaster, 2 parts water, 2 parts glue in the mix so far. But we still don't have gesso just yet. All right. So to all of that, we're going to add 4 parts paint. I hope I have enough paint. This can's feeling a little bit empty. We shall see. Yeah, maybe it may end up making gray gesso. All right, so let's see. Oh, my cup. Here we go. So we're going to need 4 parts acrylic paint no matter what we do. So here we go. Now this is going to cause a strange reaction in the jar when you go to put this in. Mostly when you start to stir it. You will see an immediate hardening of the, or thickening of the plaster. And why it does that, I could not tell you. I just know you just keep stirring it and it'll simmer itself back down. Now it looks like I'm going to have just enough paint. Alright, so we got, it's going to take a little bit to get this last of this paint out of here. So we got 2 parts water, 2 parts glue, 2 parts plaster, and 4 parts paint. Now, I use this Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum Inspire is pretty good too. But you want a good, this is regular acrylic house paint. You can use art store paint, but it's a lot more expensive. You get a pint, which is half of this, for $10, and this is 7. So, you know, do what you got to do. If you can't get house paint, then this works really good. Though it has a good longevity. Hang on a second. Let me see if there's a way I can get any more. Let's try to get a little bit more paint out of this can. Let's scoop a little bit more paint out of this can. That's pretty good. All right. We're going to take that and we're going to stir it up. If you have any questions, just put them out there. I'll see them over there on the monitor. Again, we throw the cup away. I'm kind of cleaning up my mess as I go. My wife is kind enough to let me do this in the house. Alright, so let's stir this up now. So you might be able to see it, or you're going to see it firm up as soon as I start to turn it. Probably see that it's thickened right up. Like I say, I don't know why it does it, but it just does. Alright, so we're just going to continue to stir it. You want to stop from time to time, you guys will, just to look at your stirring thing and see if you see any specks of that plaster. Because if you do, you got to keep stirring. Me, I've just done it enough times to know. I can see it as it's kind of stirring. So. All right. So there we are with about 16 ounces of gesso. Ready to go. Alright, so hang on a minute while I just clean this up just a little bit. I'm going to go through the process one more time. I'll make a different color gesso this time. So I'm just going to cap this. Don't have any paint on the side of it, so I don't have to worry about the plastic right now. So there's 16 ounces of gesso. We're going to take it right downstairs and start using it in a minute. I'll take you guys through the life cycle of canvases and gesso. So let's take this other jar that I brought up. This is the one that I brought up earlier. Hey, Tom. Yep, it's easy though. It's 2 parts water, 2 parts glue, 2 parts plaster, 4 parts of paint. If you're for 16 ounces, if you're making 8 ounces, it's 1 part water, 1 part glue, 1 part plaster, and 2 parts paint. All right, so let's make some. I have a little bit of gesso left over in here. That's okay. It's not gonna make any difference to what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do, but I'll post it. I'll post it along in this video. All right, so let's just go ahead and start mixing this up. The water hot. Okay. 2 parts of water. And that's it for the water. I need 2 parts glue. I don't really need any black gesso, but I wanted to take you guys through this twice, and I don't have any white paint left. So this is just regular, standard, run-of-the-mill glue all by Elmer's Glue. Don't use school glue. That doesn't work too good. I've tried it, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work very good. I don't know why. It doesn't make a good consistency. All right, so there's our second part of glue. Some glue right on the side here. We'll just throw that cup away. So really, for pennies, it's for something that you'd pay. I think gesso in the large bottle is like $16 now or something like that, and probably even more for golden if you pay for that. So let's go. So just for a few pennies, you can make this stuff yourself. I'm cheap. Hello, Sylvia. I'll cover that. The reason that people use gesso is for surface prep. Canvases, even if you buy an economy canvas, which says, quote unquote, it's been primed, which means they've sprayed it with a bit of gesso, and I truly do mean it's been sprayed. It's laid on an assembly line, and they just run it through. So they put a very thin coat of gesso down. If you spray water on that, you'll find it's not very. Water will just bead right up on it. And that's usually not too good. So for 2 reasons, absorbency and appearance. You can take a cheap canvas and make a really nice canvas out of it by putting a couple coats of gesso on it. And when I go downstairs, we're gonna go down to the studio in a minute, and I'll show you guys some canvases in different states of being gessoed. All right, so we put 2 cups of that stuff in here, 2 cups of plaster. Let's stir all that up. Now, you know what? I should have stirred the glue up first, but that's okay. We're flexible. It prepares the surface. You know, the reason for gesso is if you took acrylics, well, let's start back all the way back at the beginning with that thought. If you take water and you just put it on, you just take water and put it on linen or cotton, it's just untreated, the water will just soak right in. So will your oil paint, and so will your acrylics, and it will take a lot of paint to do whatever it is you're trying to do. Gesso sits on top of that. So if you think about your canvas being like a layer of sand, water just soaks right into it. Gesso's like packing a layer of dirt on top of that, heavy layer of dirt on top of that. So the water still absorbs, but you can judge on how smooth you want it to be, and it'll make it very stiff, which makes your canvas stiff, really nice for painting. Where am I? Okay, I'm on the painting part. All right, so this time, yeah, it sounds pretty good. All right, so I'm using the same stuff. I'm using Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Ultra Cover. This has a really good pigment, although this needs to be stirred up some more. What do I do with my stirrers? Hang on. Hang on, let me stir this up some. So, it gives you a really nice surface to paint on. Now, the nice thing is you can really judge that surface too. So, yeah, oh yeah. You can gesso for any type of medium, including watercolor. You'll use a lot less acrylic paint rather than going on an untreated canvas if you put gesso on it. The other thing about gesso is that it allows you to judge how you want your canvas to be. You can determine the smoothness or the toothiness of your canvas. So if you don't know what tooth is, I didn't, so I'll tell you. If you don't know what tooth is, it's a roughness in the canvas. It's really nice for oil painting. Some people like a lot of tooth in their canvas, especially landscape painters like myself. First learned that from Brandon Thomas. He used to talk about that, about he liked a lot of tooth in his canvas, and I really didn't know what that meant, because I was using mostly economy canvases in those days. But it's got a roughness to it, so it's really nice when you're making mountains or you're doing some knife work. All right. Or using sandpaper, you can make it super smooth. Yes, you have to let it dry. It takes it about. You can force it dry with a hair dryer. It takes about, I don't know, I'd say 10 minutes probably to dry. So we're just adding black paint this time. One, to make a mess. 2, 3. Because the gesso itself has an acrylic, it has two things in it. It has the glue, it has the PVC glue in it, and then it has the acrylic paint itself. So, let me wipe this up real quick, guys. Hang on. I don't want to make a big mess back here. I have to clean up later. I'm going to keep it clean as I go. Let me answer questions while I'm cleaning it up. You can just let it dry. Usually that's what I do. I just paint my first coat on, usually about 3 canvases at a time, because I have different easels and I just set them on different easels. And then I prep them. I do the second prep step, and then I put the second coat on. If I'm trying to get a really smooth canvas, I may put a third coat on. On an economy canvas, like if I buy a canvas at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or someplace like that, I usually put 2 coats on and just let it be at that, because they already put a primer coat on. But you can make a really nice canvas out of a economy canvas by gessoing it. All right, so I'm gonna stir all this up. Take a little longer to stir this because I already had some gesso in there, so the jar is really full. And like I say, you can make black gesso or you can make gray gesso, which is really what I'm trying to make here. I have a ton of black gesso downstairs, so I thought I'd make a little gray gesso here. So that plaster is firming up just like I told you earlier. Turn the jar here and get that mixed up. Now, I encourage you to play around with this. Hey, Bruce. You have an example of one of your paintings? Oh yeah, I'll show you something. We're going to go down to the studio here in just a second. Sylvia, just a second. Alright, so the gessos are pretty much ready to go. Let me clean this stirring stick off here. Then we'll go downstairs. Alright. Let me clean up just a little bit more before we go. So remember, when you buy your paint, if you go to the hardware store and buy it, you want acrylic flat paint, no matter what color you get. So you can make white gesso with flat white paint. You can make black gesso with black paint. And you can make gray gesso with black and white paint. You'll want to experiment a little bit though. Some people like their gessos like really creamy. Some people like their gessos kind of more liquidy. And I don't really have, well, I sort of have a preference, but it just depends. It's pretty easy. All right, so we got black and white, and now we're going to go downstairs. So hang on here, a little shuffle here as we move around. All right, so let me get the gesso, and let me get the monitor, and then we'll go. Let's go downstairs into the studio. Almost there. All right, let me just hook some power back up for you guys. All right. Okay, let's see. We're asking about some of my paintings. Well, let's see. Here, well, before we go to the canvas then, let's go over this way. Hang on a second. Here's one. Here's one of them that we just did recently on a video. So 16 by 20 oil with, and you'll see that this is a black gesso canvas. So we applied the black gesso and then we painted over the top of that. And then here's another landscape that we did the time before that, on the video before that. And this one is on a white canvas. So there you go. Here's some of my paintings. All right, let me put those back. Okay, so hang on a second. Let me get repositioned. Let me reposition myself here. You guys see the canvas? Okay. Okay. All right. Let me see if I missed any questions while I was going down the stairs. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, so let's just start with a bare scratch canvas. So this is a canvas that I stretched myself. I made this canvas using canvas stretchers. So if you see it looks a lot grayer. You see, in this canvas. This has one coat of gesso on it. We'll come back and talk about that in a minute. So I did a video a while back on how to stretch your own canvas. It was actually one of my first videos. So I stretched this canvas. It's on regular Frederick's brand stretcher bars. I like their stretcher bars. So it's just back stapled. All right, but this is just raw canvas. So if you took it and you tried to paint on it, your paint would just soak right in. Just like if you took and spilled water on your shirt at the restaurant, right? So we're going to take this canvas. We're going to start off, we're going to turn it over backwards, like this. And then we're just going to spray it with a little bit of water, just to make it a little bit damp. And we'll turn it back over. This side we're going to gesso. And we'll spray it around the edges, just to make the canvas a little bit damp. Now in my canvas stretching video, we've already gone through, we stretched the canvas. These canvases, shut up cat. We stretched the canvases very tight, and we poured hot water on them. So it makes them shrink up and be even tighter. So the canvas is pretty tight. I hope you guys like my cat. He's bossy and noisy. All right, so here's the gesso we just made. Let's just kind of go ahead and use some. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll put the first coat on here, and then we're gonna move to what do you do after it dries, like this one. Now, if you put a coat of gesso on the top of an economy canvas, at that point you're pretty much done, because there's not much tooth in an economy canvas, right? So because they're already kind of the canvas is much thinner than this, and they're very smooth. When you're stretching your own canvas, as you'll see as we go, we're probably going to run in and have some little balls of stuff show up, little loose threads of canvas here and there, and so we'll need to work on that some. All right, so let's just put it on. Now, I don't use an oil painting brush for that because it's an acrylic type foundation, so I just use a regular Master Painter brand angle brush, and I always start on the side. I can do about maybe six applications with this much gesso. Then we do the top. Then we get this done, we'll talk about it a little bit more, and then we'll put the other can. We'll move this over onto the easel. All right. Now, everybody has their own technique on how they like to put gesso on. Or now, gesso is a noun, but you'll hear artists use it as a verb. I gessoed a canvas. Now, I might have even done that since we've been talking. It's just the way it goes. But what they mean is they've applied gesso to a canvas. All right, so this consistency is about as thin as regular acrylic paint. If you want to make it a little more heavy body, start off with 1 part water, and then just kind of add to it until you get the thickness that you like. It'll make it kind of creamy. Now you can see, I hope you can see, how much this is soaking, how much paint this is soaking up this canvas, because it's a very open weave canvas. This canvas is nothing special. My never-ending battle to continue to turn out a good product, but do it economically. This is just a regular painter's canvas that you would buy at the Home Depot to protect your floors. You get like 9 feet by 36 feet for $10. Then I cut it up and stretch it myself. So all the labor's on me, but you get a really nice canvas. I mean, canvas like this would cost you $100 in the at Michael's. What do they call those? Level 2, level 3 canvases or something like that. So you don't have to paint on it. You don't have to paint on an economy canvas. And you'll see when we get done. We get over to stage 3 here on these canvases. You'll see what they look like. They're really nice. He is talking to me. He's bossy. He just came downstairs. He's over there. He's like, man, it's Sunday. You're supposed to sit down and let me paint. Oh, no, he's actually looking for my wife. He just went in her office looking for her. He thinks he's the boss of us. He sort of kind of is, a little bit. The two of them are constantly in a battle of who's in charge. I'm never in charge, so it don't matter to me. All right, so we almost got this first coat down here. Feel free to ask any questions that you might have. When we get done, we're kind of putting this on horizontally, but we're going to switch directions here in just a second. Now on the second coat of this, you'll notice that when I start to go vertically like this, if you try to do this on the first coat, you probably can, but it's going to be really stiff. So it's kind of nice to add a little bit more gesso to it, just a little bit. It'll make it a little bit more easy to pull across. And the reason that we're doing that is, of course, the fibers are interwoven like that, right? So we want to make sure that we go and both the directions to make sure that we get good penetration, because we want to close up all of that loose weave. In the case of watercolor paper, it's doing the same thing. It's creating surface prep. It's making the paper less water absorbent. If you're using canvas board, it'll help because canvas board's got cardboard inside of it, and or wood, but mostly cardboard. And the reason for that, and what happens is when you go to paint on that, the cardboard itself pulls the moisture out of your product, and so out of your paint, and so it takes more paint to paint on a canvas board like that. All right, so this coat is done. That's really all there is to it. Now let me move this and let me get a second stage canvas. Oh, I got somebody swap. All right, so here's a canvas that I did last night. I did this one, and I was like, oh, you know what? I need to hold up because I need to show them how to do it at each stage. All right, now I'm going to move this a little closer for you in a second because I don't think you can see this on the monitor. But let me see if I can turn it so you can. Hopefully, you can see this surface has got little bumps on it here and there. It's that's just where the weave, the loose threads on the canvas have come up, have been raised due to shrinkage. So there's a couple of ways you can do that, take care of that. One is because you want to prep it for the second coat to make it more smooth. I have found that the easiest way to do it is use your palette knife. Just go across here. Like I said earlier, when you're putting it on an economy canvas, this is not a step you'll have to do because it just doesn't have enough canvas on it to make a difference. Now, so I just ran this over, and just all it does is really just snatch those right off the surface. So this is just some silicone 180 grit sandpaper. So you can hear how stiff that is. Another good idea is, or at least another hint, I don't know if it's a good idea, it's a hint. You'll notice that this side is gesso, this side, and this part's not, right here. And the reason for that is I can only gesso, when I gesso the sides, I can only gesso 3 sides. So when I put the second coat on, I turn it upside down and gesso the top. I'm not painting on that part, but it still makes a nicer looking product. I answered the question earlier about why gesso. Another reason that I gesso is I like to have creative control over every aspect of what I'm painting. So, and that includes the quality of the canvas. So, you can go out and you can spend a lot of money on linen, or, if you're doing portraits, I would suggest you probably do that. But I don't paint portraits, I paint landscapes. But I still like to have a nice canvas to paint on. So, let's see. That's pretty smooth. All right, ready to put a second coat on this. And then now, there is one more step to sanding. I'll talk about it on the next piece. Let me put this on real quick. Now, the second coat goes on a lot smoother because you're not painting on top of raw canvas, right? You're painting on top of a gesso canvas. Did I just use that as an adjective? I think I did. All right. All right. So, now, show you another type of gesso here in just a second, or a brand of gesso. I've used some store-bought gessos, but whew, they cost a lot. Now, I'm retired, so I'd rather spend my money traveling than giving it to Hobby Lobby. I ain't got nothing against the Hobby Lobby, but I'm sure they got enough money. Alright, so now you can see how much faster this is going on because I don't have to retrack over different spots. And I'm kind of looking, I just made this bottle of gesso, so I'm looking to see if there's any, see if I see any little pills of plaster in case my stirring impatience got the best of me. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does. This looks okay though. Alright, this is the second coat, so it doesn't really need much, it doesn't have much drag going across. I can also paint down this way just to get the top side. There we go. Now, if you're gonna, it doesn't really make all that much difference probably. I'm kind of OCD on this, but one thing to consider is when you're painting, if you're gonna do a painting that's vertical, you might want your gesso to be this way. And if you're gonna be landscape, then you might want it to be, go back and forth, finished gesso this way. I have noticed on a heavy tooth canvas that when I paint my mountains on my mountain scenes, and I do a lot of mountain scenes, that lots of times the gesso, the lines that are in the gesso will sometimes actually show up on the mountain. It's kind of a cool effect in a way because it shows it creates texture in the mountains that you actually see when you're looking at real mountains. So it's kind of cool. All right, so I'm a little bit done with that gesso for the moment. I'm going to show you a finished product here, but before we get done with it, I'm going to take a sandwich bag and put it over the top of this can of gesso that I just opened and put the lid on it. Now that plastic, if you don't do that, if you have any wet gesso on the side of your jar or on the lid of your jar, it's going to dry and it's going to stick this lid on here, on this, and you're never going to get it off. So, you know, you could bang it off maybe, but gesso's pretty tough stuff, so just watch. I suggest you use a piece of plastic. It depends. So I'm going to show you a finished one here in a second. If I'm painting on an economy canvas, I usually just put one coat. Sometimes I put 2 coats. I have been known when I'm trying to create a really smooth canvas, I have been known to put 3 coats. But here's a finished product, 2 coats. The canvas is ultra tight and ultra stiff. Now, let me show you some differences though in that canvas and the economy canvas. I think I got one over here. Hang on a second. So, here's a 16 by 20. This is just your normal run-of-the-mill Michaels brand canvases. And if you take it and you turn it to the light, I don't think I can show you this on canvas, but if you take it and you turn it, first of all, the canvas is not very tight. You can see, I'll turn it sideways here. You can see that I can push this canvas out. And if you've ever, it's just, it's aggravating. And if you look at the thickness of the canvas, this canvas is just, it's ultra thin compared to the canvases that we're using here. So let's compare that to, here's another canvas that I was getting ready to put a second coat on. Look how thick this canvas is. So, you know, and if you spray this canvas with water, I don't know if you can see or not, but the water just beads right up on it. And that's really, just not a great surface to paint on. So I usually gesso them. I just opened a pack of 5 and I've got 3 to go. I still have to gesso. So I like them that way. Now, so this one's actually finished, but just for the sake of discussion, so it's nice and smooth. But let's talk about black gesso for a minute. And I'll use a different type of gesso this time. I have a ton of gesso, but recently I got a really good deal on some Bob Ross gesso. I haven't used his white gesso, I don't think, but this is his black gesso. It's normally $16 and something, I think. But I got it for $4.24 because it was on sale at Hobby Lobby because they were closing out. All right, so I'm just going to put some of this on a paper plate. I'm going to go ahead and gesso over this and show you the difference in a black gessoed canvas. Just in the application part, it's not really all that different. Well, I should probably use a different brush, but I'm not going to. So let's just... So it's probably going to be like a dark gray, but that'll be okay because I got some white gesso in this. The Bob Ross black gesso is superb. I'll say that. It's definitely worth the money. It's a thick, creamy kind of a gesso. It's not very liquidy at all, and it covers really well. It's got good pigments in it. I don't think it's probably any better than mine. As a matter of fact, I tried to model since I had Bob Ross here. I tried to model my gesso after his, as far as texture and as far as pigments. So now, like I said, this is the third coat of gesso, so this has been sanded twice. Yeah, first coat, second coat. So it's been sanded twice, and you can see how easy the gesso just slides onto this thing. It's just a really, really nice surface to paint on. All right, so since I put another coat of gesso on it, I will sand this canvas one last time before I paint on it. Now, when I do that, I will use. So I'm going to try something new, actually, just to see if I can make my canvases even smoother. So yesterday I bought some 320 grit sandpaper, and I'll give that a try. So I'll post how that is. I'll post how that works out on my site, on my Fine Arts page. You can see this has got a nice dark. This is really good. It makes the colors really pop when you're painting on black canvas versus something else. But all right. So again, why do you use gesso? What is gesso? It's a surface prep. It's made up mostly of. You used to use rabbit glue made out of rabbits. And I've actually used some gessos that have that, and if it sits for very long, it's going to smell bad. I don't know why, but the glue kind of comes to the top and it smells atrocious. So that's actually one of the things that got me started doing my own gesso. But why use it other than the surface prep? It's for appearance. It makes a good appearing canvas. It has good absorbency. You can temper whether you want your canvas to be rough or solid. If you just paint it straight on and don't sand it, you'll have a lot of tooth in the canvas, which is great for landscapes because you have a lot of texture in your canvas, which is great for trees and bushes and mountains and streams and all that stuff. How many coats depends on what kind of canvas you're painting on. 2 to 3 coats is usually good. How long does it take to dry? You can use a hair dryer and dry it in just a matter of just a couple of minutes. I've actually been to a Bob Ross class where we painted gesso on a canvas, on just an economy canvas, and we were ready to paint in like 10 minutes. I usually let mine dry overnight just because I can. I have enough space to do that. So I actually have a thing on my to-do list called canvas prep, so I usually have it any given time. Let's see what I got. There's 5, 10. I probably have 15 canvases over there that are prepped, ready for me to paint. I have been known to paint 2 or 3 paintings in a day. So, it's a great product. You can make it yourself a lot cheaper, though. I'd say probably 10% of the cost of what you can buy it in the store. So, anyway, that's that. I don't really have anything else to say about it. It's going to dry nice and hard. There's all sorts of brands of it at Hobby Lobby and Michael's and any kind of art store. There's the student grades are cheaper. They don't have as much acrylic paint in them, so for something like this, it's not too good. You can add art paint if you don't want to use house paint. You can go and pay more at the art store and buy acrylic, heavy-bodied acrylic or something like that, and put in it, and something that's got really good pigments in it, like a golden or something, and it'll be nice and dark. You can make this is some pink gesso that I made, and I used it recently. I can show you. I use it for a prep. I'm actually prepping something. It's going to have sort of a morning sky to it, so I've actually kind of prepped it in this pink. I don't know which side of this is going to be the top yet, but so I use kind of a pink and white gesso combo, just kind of experimenting around. I've made some orange gesso. It worked really well for a sunset sky. So, you know, it'd be creative. That's what we do, right? So try all sorts of things. I've seen Brandon Thomas use blue gesso, tropical blue gesso in his skies. It looks really great. So anyway, lots of places to buy them. If you guys think of any questions after watching the video, or if you're watching this post video and you have them, just leave them for me. We'll be doing painting probably. We might do a painting tomorrow. Whenever we do the next painting, though, we're going to be giving away another painting. So we'll just pick a person at random that was on the they either clicked like or share or left comments. If you leave comments, if you comment, then you get a double choice. You get two chances to win. So, and then we'll just, if you live in the United States, we will mail it to you postage free. So that's all I've got. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. It's pretty here. Finally, it's quit raining finally, so, and it's not so freaking hot. So I can stop painting winter scenes now for a little while and maybe paint a spring scene or something. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.